Well, that I think is an extension of the postmodernism and critical theory that's been around for decades. Come to the fore in recent years more and more, but it's been around since the 80s, really, and certainly the 90s. This idea that there's no objective truth and that everything is kind of a contest between groups for power. And it sort of starts with a Marxian interpretation where it's a class warfare, but clearly that didn't pan out. Nationalism was much stronger than socioeconomic class as a motivating factor in the First and Second World Wars, for example, and the proxy wars during the Cold War. Class had nothing to do with it. Marx was wrong about that, but the left has instead glommed onto other, so-called identity politics, other forms of identity instead of your class, your skin color and your gender and all the others. And so I think that's what we're seeing expressed now. So you see this weird, I saw this weird thing on one of the BLM web pages that they stand against the nuclear family. I'm like, what has that got to do with anything that they're, George Floyd and police brutality and, it's clear. You're right. Everybody agreed. George Floyd, that was a clear injustice. I didn't see a single conservative try to rationalize away the police violence and that. Everybody, that seemed to be a universal agreement. They would have just restricted it to that and the few other names that were at the forefront there. That could have led to some real immediate police reform, because clearly that was a problem. There are some cops who should be nowhere near having a gun and a badge. They shouldn't. They are bad people. And but then the moment you start that, then you start expanding kind of a mission creep. Well, if some police are like that, maybe they're all like that. Not personally this guy, but the systemic racism in all of police. Then all of a sudden you expand to all policing is bad. Just the very idea of policing. Whoa, wait a minute.